above it, and then new simple raid farm for Minecraft Bedrock Edition. This ultra-reliable build will get you thousands of emeralds per hour, tons of totems of undying, along with enchanted books, potions, and the hero of the village effect to make your villager trading cheaper. Everything
Time na naman. Play football.
Try Mentos chewing gum, now in a pocket bottle.
Mojang just accidentally added a new type of emerald farm to Minecraft Bedrock Edition, and they are 2 to 3 times better than our existing raid farms for emeralds. They're also way simpler, cheaper, and easier to build, and they're even safer to use than regular raid farms. Overall, this is an amazing new emerald farm for Minecraft Bedrock Edition. This is technically a new type of raid farm, but it's unlike any raid farm you've seen for Bedrock Edition before. We're simply using the pillager outpost to spawn in new pillagers, and then they're going to join an existing raid, which will change their loot tables, so now they're going to drop emeralds, enchanted books, and all the iron gear that you normally get from a raid. Regular raid farms on Bedrock Edition give you about 13 to 1500 emeralds per hour. However, this new emerald farm can give you trident killers, of course. Minecraft 1.21 is here, and they have broken and changed our raid farms. In this video, I'll be telling you absolutely everything you need to know about these new changes and what you need to do to fix your raid farms on Minecraft Bedrock Edition. This tutorial will show you how to fix your raid farm for Minecraft 1.21. I'm going to
Hey there everyone, today
Welcome back, Bills Are Red, to another Minecraft Bedrock Edition tutorial. Today we are once again tackling the raid farm storage situation when it comes to any sort of general raid farm you have. Now, raid farms provide a vast quantity of different items, but in the new 1.20 update, there is an enormous different ways that we can sort all these items quickly and reliably, and so that's what I'm showing you all how to do today with this brand new raid farm sorter. First off, I'll start with our non-stackable items. This system will automatically sort out all your totems of undying for you. This we are doing with a lay that is up there right next to the AFK spot, which one is a whole lot more reliable, but two, because we are not using note blocks and just using proximity to the player, it's not going to break on you because lays are a little finicky and sometimes unreliable on Minecraft Bedrock Edition. Along with that, using a chiseled bookshelf, we're able to sort out enchantment books. In the new 1.20 update, villagers are kind of nerfed in the sense that it's a lot harder to get all the books you need. This is going to make sorting out your enchantment books so much more important, because with all the different books you can get, yes, they oftentimes have multiple different things, but you can easily get Mending or Feather Falling 4 or Unbreaking 3, basically all the different enchantments that you used to be able to trade with villagers. While you can still trade with villagers to get them, you can also just AFK here at the farm overnight, and you can probably get all the books you need. Along with that, we're able to sort out all our potions using the brewing stand, and depending on the farm you build, it's going to change which type of potion you actually get from this farm. If you build this brand new farm from Silent Whisper, it's going to give you two types. You're going to get some instant health, and you're going to get some speed. Depending if you use an older design or use one by another creator, this system and this sorter will still work. It just means that you might get some fire resistance, or you might not get the speed potion. It just depends on what the farm has the witch doing at the time the witch is being looted from the world. Next, we have these 5 double chests here. This is simply a non-stackable item overflow. This allows you to have a backlog of a whole bunch of different items. If you need some easy levels, you can disenchant these. It also gives you access to saddles, because if your raid farm produces saddles and doesn't burn them, then those are going to end up in these 5 chests. Now, if they are completely full like this, there's no need to worry. Any overflow will automatically be burned in a lava-filled cauldron, so you don't have to worry about ever emptying out these 5 chests unless you want like a backlog of enchanted items that you can disenchant using a grindstone. For stackable items, if they are simple, like for example glowstone, gunpowder, all those will just go in general chests, and different items like for example emeralds or redstone dust that can be converted to block form are converted completely automatically to go ahead and make storage a lot quicker and more compact. That way you can store a whole lot more items in a smaller space. And if you are also building one of these raid farms with a built-in iron farm, then you can go ahead and sort the iron out completely automatically too. The iron will be turned into iron blocks, and the poppies will automatically get turned into bone meal and converted into bone blocks for the most compact storage. But that is a quick summary on basically everything that is happening in this sorter. Now, the one major pro with this sorter compared to other sorters is just its immense compactness. And this thing you can basically put anywhere you want. You of course don't want to put it too close to your raid farm itself, so that the raiders don't spawn on the actual redstone components, but if you have it down here by the pillager outpost or below ground, then it will do all the sorting there. You simply want this system within simulation distance of the player. That way all the sorting happens while you are of course AFKing. Now, not only is this system incredibly compact, but it's also very fast. The majority of both the non-stackable and stackable items get sorted at hopper speed, meaning that can handle up to 9,000 items per hour. Now, unless you're building a stacked raid farm, you're never going to deal with items of that quantity. For example, the raid farm I'm showing here, designed by Silent Whisper, only produces around 3,600 items per hour. The only reason that you would get anywhere close to the 9,000 items per hour mark is if you build a stacked raid farm, which are really hard to do. So, in general, what that means is that this raid farm sorter will work with basically any raid farm. whether it is this raid farm or some other creators. Now before we start building this raid farm sorter, you need of course to have a raid farm built. Now whether you build this raid farm I'm showing in this video or some other creators, you need to have some sort of raid farm built before we start working on the sorter. The sorter is basically going to mold around wherever or however your raid farm is designed. Now we are always going to start up here at the actual AFK platform because we need to get our lay in position, and we also need to set up where we want the drop chute to be. If you ever want the details of material list or you want to get a closer look on how the system actually works, material list and world download are both in the description below, along with a like and subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Now this first bit is not very set in stone because it's going to depend on your actual raid farm itself, but this is basically what we're looking at. So depending on wherever your raid farm the item chute is, you might need to move this, but basically we need all the items to come right next to where the player is actually AFKing. And in this one, right where the pink flowers is, that's where the player is AFKing. And all the items are dropping at this emerald block. So the water system here is basically acting as a funnel. So whenever all the items come from our actual raid farm, we want them to be close enough to the player that the XP can be collected. And then as it gets closer, they all get near a central point. And then that's going to come where the water is nice and slow. And then that's going to drop that straight vertically to our input to our actual sorter. Once you have a waterway system like this put in place, it is time to put in our actual allay sorter. Now the placement for this allay sorter is really up to where the AFK spot is. So the AFK spot's right here, and we want to be directly above the allay. So you're going to want some glass panes here. That way the player can be up against this when they're actually AFKing. And then right below it, that's where the actual allay is going to be. So we need a downward facing hopper there. Then you're going to need to temporary break the panes. Go ahead and have a downward facing piston. Then you're going to need to grab an upward facing slab. And then some blocks around. Now the easiest way to get the allay actually in this area is to put them in with a minecart, then put this slab up top, and then release the allay. Then you can just go ahead and give it a totem, and that's what it's going to actually be looking for. And then the last thing we got to do is actually push that slab on top of the allay. What this is doing is it's locking the allay between the slab and the hopper, and now anytime a totem comes close enough to that allay is going to pick it up. Whenever the allay drops that totem, it's going to end up in the hopper right below it, but right now you can see there's no actual totem there. The reason is we are too far away from the allay, and instead of using note blocks, we're actually using the proximity to the player to actually drop that totem into the hopper below it. So that is, in short, why we need the stained glass, because by standing right here on top of the slab, we are close enough the allay is going to drop the totem, and we are also close enough to actually get the XP, but we are not too close that the hopper below the allay will always pick up the totem and will never end up in our inventory. So we can go ahead and close back in our AFK spot. Now we need these totems to actually get dropped down below, and how we're going to do that is we are going to basically detect when all other items come through the system. We're going to do that using an observer. So I'm going to have an observer facing this way, and that's going to go straight into a sidewards facing dropper with a lower facing stair like that. We're going to come to the other side of this, go ahead and have a hopper to the side of that dropper. Then you need to grab a double chest, and we are going to put that between these two hoppers like that. Now how we're actually going to activate this system is using string. Now whenever a block is placed or destroyed, of course the observer can detect that, but an observer can also detect when an item falls through a string. So because of that, if we have, for example, a totem come through the system, you can see the allay will pick it up. When I get close enough to it, it will drop it, it will go into the dropper, and then when the next item that gets farmed by the raid farm, for example, if we get some string come through here, that's going to trigger the string, and that's going to drop that totem straight down, and then the string's also going to go straight down. So these are going to be our two inputs into the actual farm itself. If you're building this right on top of the actual pillager outpost, you're going to need to carve 2 holes into the roof of that, and that should come straight down. And for me, that comes right in front of where I'm actually taking care of all the pillagers. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and mark both these spots with a lower slab. That way we can easily identify this is where all the items are going to be, and that way we can also go ahead and put hoppers underneath them, and they will pick up these items. Now that we've gotten our AFK spot done, it is time to work on the actual storage part of our sorting system. So down here, mine is going to be built right into the pillager outpost because it looks so cool like this, but you can actually build this anywhere you want. Now the main thing I'm noting is the emerald blocks are where the input of all the items are. So this left one, that is where my totems are being dropped from the actual farm itself. I have a lower slab there that's keeping the items coming all the way through. And then the right side, that's where all the other general non-stackable and stackable items end up. But then I also have a third input, which is my bad omen farm. So that's what all 3 of these emerald blocks represent. Now, the easiest thing to do for the sorting is to just take care of the item that's already sorted out. So for example, the totems. This is just going to be totems coming from this lower slab right here. So what we can do is if I come 8 blocks out from the actual... So what I can do is if I come straight up to where my totems actually are coming from, I can have a double chest right here into the side of the wall, a hopper going into that double chest. I'm going to break that block. Then I'm going to go ahead and get a couple of temporary blocks and come out 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks. Break these first 3. Then these you can have as 3 hoppers. Then you need a double chest right here. Then we're going to have a temporary block come down below that with a double chest right there, with the hopper going. going into that double chest, and then we're going to need 4 more double chests right off to the side of that, 3 and 4, and that lines us straight up with the front of our actual raid farm sorter. And then you need hoppers going in the back of every single one of those chests. Now, anytime a totem falls into this top part, it will go through the slab, into the hopper, all the way down to this bottom chest, and then just fill up the item silo from there. Now, all the other items from the farm are going to end up coming from these other 2 emerald blocks, which is our bad omen farm, which is going to be right here, and 1 from the general raid farm. Now, we want all those items to combine and come together to right here. I have a barrel, and this is just 1 block to the right of where that hopper is lined up, right on the edge of the raid farm, which is lined up with the first double chest corner. Now, in order to get all the items into that, you're just going to need a simple little hopper line. You can simply come back 6 hoppers just like that, connect 2 into the first one, and connect 1 into the bad omen farm. And just like that, regardless where the items are coming from, they should always end up in the barrel right here. So our second column of chest right here is going to be for the enchanted books. So what you're going to want here is 4 double chests coming straight up to the top. And then you're going to want a hopper going back into each one of those. You're going to have 1 more chest right there. Then have a hopper going into the back of that chest. So that is 5 double chests right there. You need a chiseled bookshelf. And then 2 hoppers going into that chiseled bookshelf. You can then go ahead and have a hopper going straight down from the middle one, and then if we come out 1 temporary block, you can have a dropper facing just straight out to the side like that, and a hopper going into that dropper. Now this system that we are about to build right here is just my simple non-stackable item sorter that we simply have a chiseled bookshelf on instead of a shulker box. So if you've seen this system before, it is a very simple circuit to just go ahead and have mastered. We need 2 blocks here with a comparator going out and a comparator going out from this hopper. This comparator on subtract mode. You're going to need an upper slab right there, redstone dust. You can have a solid block there, a comparator, and then right here you need a furnace, and in the furnace have 28 random junk blocks that you don't care about. It doesn't matter which slot they are in. Then we're going to have 2 blocks right here. Then we're going to come down 2 blocks from this first one, break that temporary block. You need 2 upper slabs right there, and you can have 2 solid blocks. You're going to need a line of redstone dust right here, have a repeater on 4 ticks, redstone dust, and then you need 2 redstone torches right there and there.
Shit, no, I can't believe it. Oh no.
And there. Now our third column of chest is going to be our potion sorter. So you can go ahead and have 3 double chests right here. Then you need to have 3 hoppers going directly into each of those with the broom stand on top of that top hopper. You need a hopper going into that broom stand, and then you need to go ahead and have a temporary block right here to the side, and then go ahead and have a hopper go into that temporary block. You break the temporary block, then you can have a solid block here with a comparator that should be going into a solid block we placed here earlier, and go ahead and put a redstone torch inside of that. Then you need to come over here to the left one, down one, break the first block, piece of redstone dust, and a solid block on top to keep the redstone dust from connecting. Then you need to come to the other side of the system, have a redstone torch there, and come down 2 blocks, break the first, and then you need a repeater on 2 ticks. We'll come down 1 block there with a piece of redstone dust, and then we'll have a redstone torch here, come around to the other side, then we're going to have an obsidian block there, have a temporary block, and have a piston facing directly into that obsidian block with a redstone torch and a repeater on 1 tick. Then if we come right back out to the front, we are done with our potion column. Our next is a double column, and this is for all our overflow and general non-stackable items that we can't sort between. For example, the armor, the tools, the crossbows. These you technically can sort, but require a semi-automatic system that most of the time these are not worth keeping and just worth burning. But we're going to keep a couple just in case you want to disenchant them for a couple extra levels. So what you're going to need is you're going to need 4 chests right here, but make them 2 wide, so it's a 2x2 square just like that. Have 1 hopper going into each of those double chests, and then we're going to have a double chest here right on top. Then go ahead and have a hopper go into that double chest right there. Then we're going to come over here to the side. Next to this redstone torch, you need to have a dropper right there. That's going into a cauldron. And in the cauldron, you bet it's going to be lava. This is our overflow protection. Now if we come over to the other side, we need to actually be able to put items into this dropper. So you're going to need a hopper going in just like that. Now we don't want this hopper to be unlocked always. We only want that hopper to unlock when this double chest up here is completely full. How we're going to do that is by simply coming out 2 blocks like that with a comparator. And we want this comparator to only turn on when this double chest here has 15, when this double chest here is completely full. So then you're going to need to have 2 target blocks here with a repeater and a redstone block. Then we're going to come over, have that comparator go into a solid block, redstone torch on the side, go ahead and have 2 blocks right there, redstone dust, and a repeater on 1 tick. And just like that, that is our overflow protection system done, and it's time to work on the stackable item portion of the sorter. So what we're going to do is from this dropper that we had facing from the right, from the very first non-stackable item filter, we're going to dropper facing inward, and then we need to come out 13 temporary blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And then you can go ahead and replace the 13th one with a downward facing dropper. And then all these other blocks can have a hopper going directly into that dropper. So if your system does not have an iron farm, then you can remove 2 of these hoppers because you won't produce iron and you won't produce poppies. And you can move this dropper 2 blocks closer. But if you have the iron farm, of course, you're going to want to be able to sort out the iron. And this dropper is going to be our overflow dropper. Then we are going to come from this block right here. We're going to have a line of blocks here with a comparator facing each of these. That's going to go into a solid block. And on the back side, go ahead and have a glass block here with 2 solid blocks like that. you're going to need 3 bits of redstone dust. If there's redstone dust connected, you want to have a block there to separate that. And then on the other side, you're going to want a redstone torch. So this right here that we just built is a simple item filter that we are building for each one of the stackable items. What makes it a little bit more confusing is we already have the target blocks set up in place because of this redstone block and repeater for some overlap, and there's redstone dust connected. So I'll show you how to do the next two. So this next one, we already put in that comparator. So on the other side, just go ahead and put 3 blocks just like this, with redstone dust, just like so, and a redstone torch. Now if you do one completely from scratch, what you're going to need is 4 solid blocks like that, a target block, a glass block. Go ahead and put 3 bits of redstone dust with a comparator, have a redstone torch, and have a hopper go right into that comparator. Then go ahead and repeat this process additional 9 times until you reach all the way up to the disposal dropper. Now once you have all 12 of your item sorters put in place, it is time to actually put in the storage for each of them. Now the storage is just going to depend mainly on which version of Minecraft you're in. If you're in 1.20 plus, you have the auto crafter, so you can compact your storage down. For example, when it comes to emeralds, you're going to want to have a barrel here, hopper going into that, double chest here, then you want an auto crafter facing into that double chest, and a hopper facing down into the auto crafter. This auto crafter does not need to be touched. The same thing goes for redstone. If you want to increase your storage capacity, just build one of these simple circuits. Even though it looks like you have less storage than just by doing 3 tall double chests, you actually have more storage just because the items are in their most compact form. Now, for glowstone, you can choose either way, but then for the rest of these, you are going to need just a simple 3 double chests in a line like this, with a line of hoppers going into each of those double chests. And you're going to do this for every single one until you reach the iron or in poppies, and just leave those be for the time being. Now, if your raid farm has an iron farm built into it, make sure that the iron ingots and poppies are here at the very end. And then for these 2 sorters, they are going to be more complicated than the ones before it. For iron ingots, we are going to have a double chest here at the bottom, with a hopper on the left-hand side with a barrel. And then we can have an auto crafter going into the barrel, with a hopper going into that auto crafter. And then for poppies, is going to be even more complicated. We're going to have a hopper going straight down into a composter, since poppies into a composter makes bone meal, and bone meal into another auto crafter creates bone blocks, which is its most compact form. Now, the reason why we have these here on the end specifically is because because the auto crafter is basically getting fired every single time one new item is coming into the actual auto crafter. That is not an issue with redstone dust and emerald, because of course you can only craft blocks out of those 2 items, but iron, if you have just a couple iron ingots and you put them in, you can create iron nuggets, or you can create iron pressure plates. Bone meal will just be turned directly into white dye, which you can do, but that's not its most compact storage form. So that's why we need to have an extra system here that's basically going to tell us whether the auto crafter is completely full, and if it is, then and only then should I actually try to craft an item. So how we're going to do this is starting here at the bottom. We need to have a solid block underneath the auto crafter. You need to have an observer going into that solid block, and then you need to have a dropper right here. Then you can have a comparator going right into a solid block above that dropper. Then you can need 2 blocks right here, a comparator, and then another auto crafter, and you can break the temporary block. And the auto crafter, just go ahead and select every single term. Basically what we're saying is until this auto crafter has every single term done, that observer underneath won't trigger. And that basically is going to happen anytime there is 9 bone meal in this auto crafter. Now for the one above, it's the same sort of deal. Just come out to 1 block, and then here we're going to do it again. We'll have our comparator, and then we'll have 3 bits of redstone dust coming all the way right around that. And then if we come over here to the inside, we can go ahead and put an auto crafter with every single term selected. And then you're going to need another comparator facing into the first. Now that we've gotten that circuitry in, we need to go back to all of our item filters and get them set up right. Now in each item filter, you need to put the item that you are sorting. So for example, the first one, I'm sorting emerald, and then you need 4 other random stackable items that preferably you have renamed. The reason why you want to rename it is basically if, for example, you put sticks instead of blaze rods, and then sticks came through the system whenever you killed a witch, then that will cause this item filter to break. So you want emeralds, and then 4 renamed items. And the next one, redstone dust, and 4 renamed items, and so on for every single one of these. And then the only thing to really note when it comes to setting the item filter is when you get to your last one, even though that it's going to come out as bone blocks, and it's going to originally be bone meal, you need to make sure that in the actual hopper, you're sorting out poppies. And the reason, of course, is the poppies are being turned into compost. You're not getting bone meal from this farm, you're getting poppies and then turning into bone meal. So the item filter needs to be for poppies. Once each of these item filters fill up to 41, so once you get your first 41 emeralds, all additional emeralds will flow through and into each of these chests. So if you run the system for like an hour or so and you don't see any actually in the chest, it's not necessarily meaning that your system is broken. It might just mean you got in less than 41, and if you come into one of these hoppers, you can check to see how many of the items you actually got, especially if you only start with 1 in there to begin with. Then our final circuit for this actual system is going to be the overflow protection for our stackable items. That's going to be from this dropper. You're going to need a cauldron with a lava bucket in that. Then you're going to need to come out 2 blocks out here. You can just leave that empty air block. Then you need a comparator going right into a solid block. Then you can have an inward facing sticky piston. Then you can have an observer facing in on the side of the sticky piston, and an observer facing out next to this hopper. Now basically anytime there's items in this dropper, the system will read that, and the observers will fire that into the cauldron where it will get burned. And the last thing to do is simply go back through, and anywhere there's an open hopper, go ahead and put a glass or solid block above it. This simply makes sure if you drop an item from wherever, there's not random items in your system that you don't want to be there. So of course you're going to want to cover all the hoppers. Even in places like this, go ahead and cover them, and that gives you more opportunity that you can label like where all your items will end up. And then of course the last step is to double check your redstone, and then go ahead and give your system a test. If everything is built exactly like shown in the video, you should have a perfectly working sorter. If you guys have any other questions or comments, of course let me know down in the comment section below, or join my Discord. Welcome back, Builders of Red.